Alright, this is Robert Stehlik with Blue Planet. Right now I'm going to show you how to cut and size and glue a Kai Zen V2 paddle. So let's start with the handle here. You want at least like 4 inches in there. I like to put it in so I have it about halfway in the adjustment range, so it's in the middle so I can make it longer or shorter as I want to. So I'm going to put a piece of tape kind of right here where it's about in the middle of the adjustment range, and that's where I'm going to put the top. So I'm going to put it in I'm just going to stick it in the top of the shaft, and I want to cut it from the bottom. So this one, I'm just going to tape it in place a little bit, lightly tape it in place. And then later when I glue it, I'm going to leave this piece of tape here so I know how deep to put it in, but it's going to attach it with a little bit of blue tape up here. So I know this is my length up here. So now I want to cut it from the bottom. And so some people like to measure it with the measuring tape. I kind of know how long I like my paddle, so I'm going to get a piece of tape ready. And yeah, basically I like my paddle right here where my wristwatch is, about this length. This is kind of for racing. For surfing I like to make it shorter, but I got some room to make it shorter. But so I got it right here. So I'm gonna test that. Put a piece of tape right here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just gonna tape the bottom piece onto the handle. Tape the blade onto the shaft, kind of where I think I want it. So I'm just going to check it again. Okay, now it's maybe a little bit short. I'm going to make it a little bit longer on the bottom here. So let me change that again. Peel off this tape. So just kind of checking it again with the tape in place. So yeah, that's right where I want it. Okay, so I got the right length. So now down here, I'm just going to mark the shaft. I'm going to cut the shaft right here at the end of the ferrule where the ferrule is going to slide into the shaft right here. So I'm going to mark this spot and cut right through the tape. This is the length I wanted, so I'm going to have to cut this much off to right here, right? So I'm going to put a piece of tape right here, and I'm going to cut through the middle of this tape right here. So I'm going to peel this back off. Okay, so this tape marks where I want to cut it right in the middle, so that after it's cut, the shaft's going to be right here in the middle of the tape. Okay, so let's go cut it and glue it. All right, I'm going to cut the shaft now. So right in the middle of the tape. Like I said in my other video, is you definitely want to try to cut the shaft from the bottom rather than from the top. You can cut it from either way. But what I like about cutting it from the bottom is that you cut off the thicker part of the shaft first. That way a shorter paddler will have a thinner, more flexible shaft. So okay, so I'm going to just cut we have like a chop saw here with the carbon blade that I'm just going to use to cut through the tape. It's good to cut through the tape to avoid the carbon from splintering, and just run the blade kind of slowly. You don't want to run it too fast, because running it too fast can cause it to splinter also. So I'm just going to take my time on the cut. Okay. So I have a nice clean edge here, and I'm just going to leave this piece of tape on because it kind of protects it from getting the glue stuck to it. So I'm going to start gluing this part here, the bottom part. Make sure just going to double check the height again. I like it, it's good. I always can do some fine tuning at the top here if I want to, but this is a good length. All right, so for the hot gluing, we use the high strength hot glue. It's like slightly darker color, it's not totally clear. Some of the cheaper stuff that you get like at the hobby shops can kind of loosen up more easily. So getting good quality hot glue is worthwhile. You get the high strength hot glue. So we want to make sure that this part is clean. We can maybe sand it a little bit to make sure get any oils off of it to get good adhesion. We like to sand the inside of the shaft a little bit too, or rough it up a little bit. This is like a plumbing tool we use for the inside. All right, so if you want to use shrink wrap, obviously you want to put that on before you start gluing the paddle, because yeah, you have to slide it over the joint after you glue it. So I don't like for this paddle, because it doesn't twist and you don't really need the thick shrink wrap. I like to just hot glue it and then maybe cover the joint with some electric tape. So I don't like to use the shrink wrap for the Kai Zen V2 paddle. All the other paddles we use the heat shrink. It's nice because it doesn't twist. Like when you wrap electric tape onto a round shaft paddle, for example, while it's still curing, it can twist the handle. So it's not good to use electric tape on a handle before it's fully cured. On this one, it's not really an issue because of the oval shape, and it can't really twist out of shape anyway. So for this one, I like to use just a little bit of vinyl electric tape. So I'm going to use the heat gun, and I'm going to heat the shaft up a little bit from the inside, get it nice and warm, so when you make the shaft and the blade a little bit hotter, the hot glue will stick to it better and spread out more evenly. So it's a good idea to kind of heat everything up a little bit before you glue it together. So I'm going to heat this up a little bit, and then also the shaft, and heat it all up a little bit. It's going to make everything flow a little bit easier. You definitely don't want to have to push hard when you push it together. It should be real soft and easy to put together. And I always like to put it together twice, so slide it in once and then pull it apart again, check all the parts for good adhesion, and then add a little bit of glue if necessary, and then put it together the right way second time. And because everything kind of gets pushed down, really the only place you have to apply the glue heavily is at the top here, at the tip of the ferrule. So I'm going to apply like a nice thick coat up here, and then I'm going to slide the shaft on top of it. And then you can kind of see how as I'm sliding this down, the glue kind of gets pushed down. And since everything's pretty hot, it just kind of slides on nice and even. And I'm going to take it apart again. And now I'm going to check and make sure I got like a nice even coat. So there's like a couple of parts here at the tip where there's not that much glue left. So I'm going to add some more glue up here, but otherwise it looks real even and smooth. Just going to add a little bit more up here. And then heat it up one more time. And then slide it back together again. There should be a nice lip of glue all the way around. If there's any dry spots, you'll see like there's no glue in one area. So now you got this thick piece of glue around here. What I like to do is just put a little bit of cold water over it, and then it's real easy to peel it off. So I'm going to use our water fountain in here to cool it off a little bit. So yeah, we have a water fountain here, so I just run a little bit of cold water right over the glue seam, and then that way when I can just peel it off real easily. A little bit more, it's still kind of hot. You don't have to burn your fingers, and it comes off pretty clean. Alright, and now I can take this tape off as well. Alright, so now I have a pretty clean seam right here for the bottom. This part is all done. So now my bottom seam is all done. This part is glued in place, so now I can take off this piece of tape here, and actually I'm just gonna peel this off, and then I have that piece on the handle. Oh. I have this piece on the handle just to let me know this is how far I want to go with it. Let me just check it again. I like this height for me, perfect. So I'm I'm gonna put it in all the way to here where that blue tape marker is, yeah? So that way I can extend it, or I can push it further in and go this. I can go anywhere from between here to, let's say, about here. So I got a nice range, and this is about in the middle, so when I want to make it longer, I can make it longer. When I might make it shorter, I can make it shorter. Okay, so because the handle has a glossy finish, I do like to rough it up a little bit with sandpaper, just to make it stick a little bit better. And you know, like the hot glue, it's when you apply it properly, it should stick well for, you know, a long time, but you know, eventually it can get a little bit loose, and your paddle might start to click a little bit, or feel like it's a little bit loose, or the glue isn't quite as tight anymore. So then you can easily just warm it up, take it apart, add some more hot glue, glue it all back together, so that you have a nice tight finish. But yeah, when you do it properly like this and use good high strength hot glue, it should last you a year or longer. Same thing again, I'm going to heat it up a little bit, heat up the inside of the shaft. Blow hot air into it, warm it up a little bit. And we're going to warm up the handle a little bit too. And this is kind of a longer way of travel, so making it warm really helps, because it makes it go together more evenly, more smoothly. You know, if it's cold and the glue cools off while you're pushing it down, it'll just be harder to put it together. So heating it up definitely makes the whole thing easier to assemble. Okay, so same thing, I'm gonna just put a bunch of glue at the top here. Dripping already. And you can be kind of generous with this part. But so we have a floor mat down here that's full of hot glue. You can put a little bit on the shaft too, but a little bit lower, because this is kind of a long one. So I'm gonna, same thing, and then I like to put it in kind of upside down, so put the paddle up high and then slide it in upside down kind of. So that way the glue will give kind of go back down and kind of keep sliding up into the shaft as you're pushing it down. So basically, all the glue that just collects around the rim there just gets pushed in, and then I'm gonna pull it back apart. Check it out. So this is actually pretty much a perfect application. There's no dry spots. So in this case, I probably didn't even need to take it apart, but it's a good idea to do it just to make sure there's no dry spots or areas where it can leak or start to get loose. So just going to add a little bit more glue at the tip again before I put it back together. Heat it up a little bit again. Keep do it. So now we already got a nice smooth coating of the hot glue inside and outside, so it's actually probably enough. But we're just going to do it, make sure everything's completely glued with the hot glue. Same thing, put it upside down. Make sure you got a nice lip of glue all the way around. There's no dry spots. Slowly slide it in. If it's hot enough, it just easily slide all the way down. See, this is a little bit of a dry spot. I'm going to add a little bit more glue right here. Make sure there's no areas without glue. Keep sliding it. Right to here. And then now I'm going to put some cold water on it again so it peels off easier without burning my hands. Oops. push it up on the tape part. All right, just gonna clean that up a little bit better. All right, pretty good finish. So now if you have some rough spots, you know, you can either kind of cut it off with a razor blade, or sometimes I'll just kind of heat it up again to kind of just smooth out those bumps. Just kind of soften it up a little bit again. So it's okay to have a little bit, better to have a little bit too much glue left than not enough, you know. So down here too, wherever you have some rough spots, heat it up a little bit. And that's it. So you can just use it like this, or I like to put a little bit of a little bit of electric tape over this seam, just to make sure it's completely watertight. And then you're good to go. So let's add some electric tape to it. I just wrap it around over the seam, just to make sure it's 100% watertight. Stretch it a little bit over the seam so it doesn't wrinkle. That's good. When you want to adjust it, it's easy to peel that off. Easy to reapply if it gets messy or something. Do the same down here. Just looks cleaner too. A little bit over that seam. I'm just rotating it. And that's it. And the hot glue dries pretty quick, so as soon as the paddle is kind of cool to the touch, you can already take it out in the water and start paddling it. That's it. This is how you cut and size and glue a Kai Zen V2 paddle. All right, thanks for watching. Aloha.
Aloha, this is Julie Kuo, Miss Hawaii USA 2017. Thank you so much for watching the Blue Planet Surf YouTube channel. We post a new video every single week, and we've got the coolest stand-up paddle videos from Hawaii. We've got the coolest stand-up paddle video. Are you still filming? We've got the coolest. Okay, I'm gonna just start again. We've got the coolest stand-up paddle videos from Hawaii, and we post a new video every single week. So please like and subscribe. Aloha.